Hello, I'm Nicole, the archaeologist at Charles Towne Landing State Historic Site. Did you know that October is South Carolina's Archaeology Month? And I wanted to kick off the celebrations by answering one of the most commonly asked questions that I get from our visitors, and that is, how do archaeologists know where to excavate, or how do we find sites? Let me first start by defining what an archaeological site is. Archaeologists study past human behaviors. Artifacts are anything that people made or used in the past. Artifacts and the ways that they are discarded or abandoned can give us a good idea about the kinds of things that people did in the past. As you can imagine, there's a wide range of objects that can be artifacts. This can range from the dishes that they used, parts of their clothing, remains of the foods that they ate, the tools that they used, and even larger immovable objects like parts of buildings. An archaeological site is somewhere where people did things in the past. These are places where things happened. Artifacts, being the material remains of past human activities, can help us determine where archaeological sites are. In South Carolina, an archaeological site is defined as an area that has 3 or more artifacts within a 30-meter radius. For historic period sites, maps and documents might give us an idea of where archaeological sites might be located. But these documents are not available for all sites. Not everything that people do is written down and recorded. There's a lot of past human behavior that would not be recorded in these documents. Natural disasters like floods, hurricanes, and fires can cause damage or destroy written records. Also, our sites can be quite large, and archaeologists tend to only sample them and not excavate them 100%. So we need to focus our efforts on the areas that are going to have the highest concentrations of the artifacts that are going to tell us about what people were doing in the past and that are going to help us answer our research questions. We normally start with a broad sampling of a potential area. We excavate small holes called shovel tests at regular intervals in a grid pattern. The standard in South Carolina is to excavate our shovel tests at intervals of 30 meters or less. When we find artifacts, we call that a positive shovel test. And once we've completed our broad sampling, we'll go back in and excavate closer intervals in between those positive shovel tests to better define the areas where activities are densest. We often use specialized computer programs to do spatial data analysis. These computer-generated maps can then help us define the areas that have the highest concentration of artifacts that are going to help us answer our research questions. For example, if we're looking for a historic building, then we're going to look in areas that are going to have artifacts that are related to architecture. Concentrations of nails, window glass, window hardware, door locks, brick, mortar. That will tell us where buildings were likely located. On the other hand, if we're interested in learning about how people cooked and ate in the past, then we're going to look for concentrations of artifacts that are associated with the storing, preparation, and serving of meals. Once these areas have been identified, archaeologists will go in and excavate larger excavation units where we carefully remove each cultural lens separately. This allows us to distinguish and interpret each cultural occupation that has occurred at our site. Finding archaeological sites is just the beginning of a really long process. It takes a lot of concise and diligent documentation and note-taking. for us to be able to interpret the types of activities that people were doing and to gain more insight into our shared past. Thank you for watching, and happy Archaeology Month.